Got your biology exam right around the corner? Feeling that last-minute pressure? Hey, don't sweat it. In the next few minutes, we're gonna tear through heredity and lock down the absolute essentials you need to know. Let's get you walking into that exam feeling like a boss. Ready? Oh yeah, I know the scene. Piles of notes, textbooks open to a chapter you swear you've never seen before. You're trying to make it all stick. Believe me, we have all been there. All right, so let's cut right through all the fluff. We're gonna do a fast, clear, no-nonsense review of what you really need to have down. So let's dive in.
First things first, we've got to start with the absolute basics. You know, you can't build a house without a solid foundation, right? So let's make sure we get these two core ideas locked in. Everything else is built on top of it.
So what even is heredity? Well, it's really just a fancy word for passing down characteristics, or what scientists call traits, from parents to their kids. And what's the instruction manual that carries all this information? It's that incredible little molecule we call DNA. Now think about it. If heredity was just a perfect copy machine, we'd all be identical clones. But we're not. And the reason is variation. It's simply all the little differences between us. You know, why you have brown eyes and your friend has blue. Or why some people have attached earlobes and others have free ones. Genetically speaking, it's what makes life interesting.
Okay, so to really get how these traits get passed on, we gotta learn to speak the language. Think of this next part like a super quick vocab lesson. I promise, if you get these few key terms down, the rest of this stuff gets a whole lot easier.
First word, gene. So what is a gene? The easiest way to think about it is this. Your DNA is like a giant cookbook for building you. A gene is just one single recipe in that book. So you've got a recipe for eye color, a recipe for height, and so on. It's the basic unit of instruction.
So if a gene is the recipe, what's an allele? Well, alleles are just the different versions of that recipe. Let's stick with eye color. The gene is for eye color in general. The alleles are the specific options, like the recipe for brown eyes, or blue eyes, or green eyes. Same gene, just different flavors. All right, heads up, because this next pair of words trips everybody up. Genotype versus phenotype. Let's make it super simple. The genotype is the actual genetic code, the combination of letters, like big T, or big T, little t. It's the recipe written on the page. The phenotype is the physical thing you can actually see, like the plant being tall. So genotype is the code, phenotype is the result.
Now, when these alleles get together, there's kind of a power struggle. You have dominant alleles. We always write those with a capital letter. This one's the boss. If it shows up, even just one copy, its trait is what you're going to see. It completely masks the recessive one. The recessive allele, the little lowercase letter, is shy. It only gets to show itself if it's paired with another recessive allele. This difference is absolutely critical for figuring out genetic problems.
Okay, so we've got the vocabulary down. But how does this all play out in the real world? How can we actually predict which traits will show up? For that, we need to meet the guy who literally wrote the rulebook for genetics.
And here he is, Gregor Mendel. He's called the father of genetics for a reason. He was a monk who was just really observant about his garden pea plants. And by doing thousands of careful experiments, he figured out the basic rules of inheritance that we still use today.
So let's walk through his most famous experiment, the monohybrid cross. That just means he was looking at one trait at a time. First, he took a pure tall plant, genotype TT, and crossed it with a pure dwarf plant, genotype TT. And that first generation of offspring, the F1 generation, every single plant came out tall, but their genotype was TT, making them hybrids. Then he crossed those plants with each other, and that's when it got really interesting. Because in that next generation, the F2s, he saw a super specific predictable pattern. When he just looked at the plants, at the phenotype, he found that for every 3 tall plants, there was 1 dwarf plant. This 3-to-1 ratio is legendary in genetics. Seriously, burn this number into your brain for the exam. But why 3-to-1? How did that dwarf plant pop back up? The secret is in the genotype. See, genetically, the real ratio was 1 to 2 to 1. There was 1 pure tall, 2 hybrids that looked tall, and 1 pure dwarf. That hidden genetic code is what creates the 3-to-1 look on the outside.
Of course, Mendel didn't stop there. He decided to level up and track 2 traits at once, say seed shape and seed color. This is called a dihybrid cross, and you guessed it, he found another magic ratio, 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. Now the big takeaway here isn't just the number, it's what it proved, that different traits are inherited independently. Being yellow doesn't mean a seed also has to be round.
All right, let's switch gears to another topic that is almost guaranteed to be on your exam. You have to know the difference between the traits you're born with and the ones you pick up along the way.
This one is super straightforward. Inherited traits are the ones you get from your parents through DNA, your eye color, your blood type, stuff you're born with. Acquired traits are things you, acquire during your life, like becoming a great swimmer or building muscles from working out. And here is the absolute most important part. You can pass inherited traits onto your children. You cannot pass on acquired traits. Your kids won't be born knowing how to swim just because you do. Okay, for our last big topic, let's tackle a really fascinating one: how sex is determined in humans, all down to our chromosomes.
It's the big question, right? But what's the actual biological mechanism that decides whether a child is a boy or a girl? Who or what is making the call?
Okay, here's the breakdown. Inside our cells, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. The first 22 pairs are just for general body stuff. But that 23rd pair, those are the sex chromosomes. Females have 2 X chromosomes, so they're XX. Males have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome, making them XY. So, with that information, we can figure out who's responsible. And the science is clear. The father's sperm determines the sex of the child. Here's why.
Just follow the logic. A mother is XX. That means every single egg she produces contains an X chromosome. It's the only kind she has to give. The father, on the other hand, is XY. So about half his sperm will carry an X and the other half will carry a Y. So if an X sperm fertilizes the egg, you get XX, a girl. If a Y sperm gets there first, you get XY, a boy. It's a 50-50 chance, and it all depends on the sperm.
And there you have it, a super fast crash course on heredity. Now think about this. Your eye color is an inherited trait. But everything you just learned, that's an acquired trait. You can't pass this knowledge on through your DNA, but you can definitely use it to go and ace your exam. Good luck!